Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and let us continue with this. I don't know why, but this is just getting to me. I like this book, and I bought the second one out of the series. There's only 2 books so far. That sucks. I really want more. Chapter 6, Blessed by the Spirits. This is part 5, everybody. Doesn't that make it sound like he really is romantically interested in you, sis? Agnes' eyes widened. What a question. And coming from Kevin. Perish the thought. He's a mushroom fetishist. You know? Please spare me the tasteless jokes. Agnes shot down Kevin's suggestion as they sat together sipping tea. A mushroom popped up on the back of his hand, as if reflecting Agnes' feelings of indignation. I thought her brother was safe from that. The mushroom had a brownish-gray cap with a fat stem. Entoloma sarcopum. It was an edible mushroom, so Agnes planned to send it down to the kitchens later. Yeah, Kevin continued, but we've ruled out him doing this to smooth things over for Philip, or to keep clingy women away from him, right? Our family's friendly with the royals, but there's nothing for them to gain from this. Despite all that, we've got the prince that everyone says is a serious sort, sending bouquets here every day and begging you to be his dance partner at the royal balls. If those aren't romantic overtures, then I don't know what are. Kevin plucked off the mushroom and looked at it. It had been a long time since Agnes had last sprouted one on him. Shrugging, he propped it up against the teapot. It looked nice there, Agnes reflected, kind of artistic. She sighed and slowly put her teacup down on the table. Kevin acts wise beyond his years, but he's definitely still a child. Listen, Kevin, think about this from the prince's point of view. I'm his cousin's jilted cast-off. I'm neither beautiful nor... Yes, you are beautiful and special. What do I hear? Plus I have this awful pink hair. It is not awful. Quit thinking that. And I make mushrooms sprout everywhere I go, which is objectively weird. But I can still be useful to him as a shield against other women. And he can harvest my mushrooms at the same time. 2 birds with 1 stone, right? I'm just a convenient tool to him. Romance doesn't factor in at all. If that was the case, he wouldn't ask you to marry him. He wouldn't want to spend his life with you if that was the case. As Kevin's big sister, Agnes wanted to explain things gently, but he frowned. I knew it. Philip's really hammered your self-confidence. What a waste of space he is. Brainless royal brat. And Prince Claw's motivations are highly suspicious, too. Kevin, stop bad-mouthing Philip. I understand the sentiment, but you can't say things like that in public. He's technically royalty, you know. I know that, sis. I'm not stupid. I just hate the way Philip's tainted your mind. He's made you ashamed of your gifts. Your hair, the divine protection offered by the spirits, your looks. Yeah, I have to agree with Kevin on this one. Agnes hated the way Kevin was looking at her, eyes full of pity. Let me ask you this, sis. Do you feel any lingering grief over Philip dumping you? Not even a little. Agnes was delighted to be free of the cheating little twerp. Her indignant response made Kevin chuckle wryly. Well, I'm glad Philip's brainwashing doesn't extend that far then. But listen, sis. The world's full of all types of people, all with different ways of seeing things. The mushrooms, actually... No, the mushrooms... Actually, forget about the mushrooms for a second. Your pink hair and the spirit's divine protection you receive. There are people out there who completely understand about that stuff. And you're saying the mushroom pervert's one of these people? Agnes asked dryly. Well, at any rate, he doesn't seem to dislike that stuff. That's good, right? Kevin has a point. Agnes was so taken aback and grossed out over Claude's mushroom fetish that she hadn't noticed. But it was true, Claude didn't seem to mind her hair at all. Maybe it was because he was too fixated on the mushrooms to even notice anything else about her. But unlike most people, he didn't seem to judge her based on her hair color. He was actually a pretty decent, unprejudiced kind of prince. Yeah, if he didn't like her hair, he would have tried to find some way for you to hide it. Or not ban around you at all. But he does like you. Your hair, your mushroom powers, everything about you. You're right. Even if His Highness doesn't see me as a beauty, he at least doesn't seem to mind my hair. All he really cares about is the mushrooms. Agnes nodded thoughtfully as she mulled it all over. Meanwhile, Kevin's smile clouded over with a frown. I see. At this rate, Philip's lingering malicious influence could actually be lifted. Almost like desensitization therapy of sorts. Slowly replacing the negative thoughts over your appearance, the divine protection you see as a curse, your social standing. Curse that Philip, he really is a stain on humanity. Still, it's a blessing the brainwash wasn't absolute. Kevin was mumbling something to himself, but Agnes couldn't make out what. Kevin, what's wrong? Nothing, just feeling a bit sorry for Prince Claude is all. Kevin reached out and flicked the Entoloma sarcopum with his forefinger. It toppled onto its side next to the teapot. Recently, Agnes had started wearing her hair down and choosing colorful jade dresses. Not having her hair scraped back made her head feel so much lighter. It was sort of fun, too. She'd never really minded wearing her hair up, but part of her had resented having to do so, just to evade Philip's whining. Having the freedom to choose her own hairstyle was actually a real mood lifter. Now see? It shouldn't be up to Philip to dictate how you look and dress. Agnes was outside strolling in the gardens in the best mood she'd been in ages. The sky above was so blue that she just couldn't stay inside a moment longer. Along with her peach blossom hair, Agnes had another gift that resulted from her foreign blood. The divine protection of the spirits that lived in nature all around her. She could sense the spirits, and she could even tell how they were feeling sometimes. They appeared to her in the form of balls of light. Again, Agnes thought she could sense happiness emanating from the light source. But people with this power were rare in the kingdom of Visage. By talking to the spirits, though, Agnes could receive their blessings. The mushrooms were one example of this. They seemed to respond to Agnes's emotions. Although they often felt more like a curse than a blessing, and Agnes still had no idea why mushrooms of all things. Much less what purpose they were supposed to serve in her life. Agnes used to go out in the gardens and spend time chatting with the flowers. She thought she sensed the flower spirits listening, but Philip had overheard her one day and said it was creepy and gross, so she stopped doing that. Girl, you've got to get Philip off your mind completely. She wasn't afraid of inciting Philip's anger, she'd just been sick of his complaining. At the time, she was also desperate to behave like a real aristocratic lady did, so she obeyed his demands. And then you started losing who you were because, the spirit stuff started to be less and less of that. Yep, here we go. And so the days and months had passed. Agnes had stopped trying to sense the spirits or trying to communicate with them. A part of her had hoped that the protective spirit effects would begin to wane if she ceased contact. But the mushrooms kept on sprouting. In fact, she'd noticed that the mushroom effect had only grown more intense. Maybe if you start communicating with the spirits more, maybe you can ask them, could you let up on that a little bit? Or at least give me better control over it? That'd be great. She paused, gazing down at the flower beds by her feet. Hello, nice weather we're having today. At the sound of Agnes's voice, the flowers swayed, though there was no breeze. Then new buds began to burst open all around her. The flowers nearby were white, but for some reason those bloomed deep pink. Oh, is that in honor of my hair? The flower heads bobbed as if nodding. Thank you so much. Can I display them in my room? As if responding, another flower bed suddenly burst into bloom. Agnes giggled as she picked the flowers, thanking the spirits again. She knew it was them. She couldn't sense them like she used to, but she just knew they were listening to her, communicating with her. If she kept this up every day, perhaps she'd be able to align her soul with theirs again. Back in her room, Agnes asked Therese to put the flowers in a vase. As she took the flowers, Therese explained, How unusual! I've never seen flowers this shade of pink before. The spirits must have changed the color of the flowers just for her, Agnes realized. She couldn't firmly sense their presence, but she knew they bore no ill will from the way they'd responded to her. It was like reuniting with old friends, and it made Agnes's heart glad. She smiled, and the flowers swayed in the vase, which means I might be able to do a little test. Agnes smiled, stroking the bobbing petals. During her commoner days, Agnes used to sell spirit-blessed medicinal herbs to make a little spending money. She needed to sell her wares via a specialist shop, but it had been plain to see that her medicinal herbs were of a far superior quality than the standard. Selling too many herbs would draw suspicion, cautioned her parents, so Agnes had made sure to only sell a few at a time. The mushrooms she could sell too, except Agnes could never control what kind of mushrooms she'd sprout or how many, so they weren't much of a moneymaker. But maybe I could try making medicinal herbs again. It'd be faster than trying to increase the potency of already existing herbs. But she realized it was too difficult to head into the forest for foraging while she was still the daughter of a count. She'd hate the kind of rumors and scandal that might bring her family. I could try growing them in the garden, though. As a kid, Agnes attended a vegetable plot and flower garden. No doubt she could use the garden hoe better than any other young noblewoman could. So Agnes borrowed a corner of the garden and began planting fast-growing herbs. She was excited about the opportunity to make enough money for her new life. It also felt great to move her body and dig around in the dirt. It was really sinking in now just how much of a boring and dull life she'd been living in an attempt to please Philip. Now that she was free again, she actually felt relieved that he'd cheated on her and dumped her. It was almost kind of funny. Then the day of the next ball came. Agnes's room was practically a flower shop by now, since Claude had been sending a fresh bouquet every single day since the last ball. How many has that been? She could see the spirits again by this point. The balls of light flitted around the room going from flower to flower. They seemed happy. But what concerned Agnes was how all this was being paid for. Surely it wasn't being funded by the royal coffers. Yeah, it's probably not. It's probably his own pockets. If it was, she really wished Claude would stop. But according to Maurice, the flowers were being paid for out of Claude's own pocket. It makes me wonder how much he makes and how much he needs to live on versus, has spending money, which means, does he have enough spending money to go through this and not make himself broke? What am I saying? He's a freaking prince. Of course he does have enough. Agnes didn't think much of that, but Maurice had started pretending to be deaf whenever she tried to argue the point with him. She was going to have to bring it up with Claude himself. As if it wasn't bad enough that she had to get in a carriage and go to the royal ball. Now she had to negotiate with the pervert as well. He's not a pervert. He loves your mushrooms just as much as he loves you. You just need to see that. Agnes sighed, looking down at the ball gown she was wearing. It was a simple pale yellow dress, covered with lighter material, which was embroidered with silver thread. Floral embroidery. Every time she moved, the beads sewn in the embroidery work sparkled. It was a beautiful dress indeed. In her hair she wore a cloth hair ribbon covered in matching silver thread which was woven into her curls. The rest of her hair was left to fluff loosely. Where her ears poked through her hair, yellow quartz earrings could be seen dangling. She also wore a yellow quartz hair comb in her peach blossom colored hair. It's cute, but I just don't feel comfortable. 6 years of being engaged to Philip. All that time spent trying to hide my hair and look as plain and ordinary as possible. It was a shock to the system suddenly appearing in public dressed up so fine and colorful. The seamstress had left right after the fitting, so Agnes had no choice but to give her own input on what she wanted the dress to be like. She was shocked by how little time passed before the completed dress was delivered. It seemed to happen in the blink of an eye, and all the decisions had clearly been made by someone who wasn't her. Naturally, Agnes had no intentions of following Philip's usual suggestions and ordering a drab dress. But she would have pushed for something a bit more modest and understated in both design and color if only they'd bothered to actually consult her. It's clear that nobody cares about my opinion at all, huh? It looked like Claude wanted her as flashy and showy as possible, and it was also clear that he placed a lot of trust in the royal seamstress to deliver the kind of dress that fit his request. Agnes heaved a sigh as the carriage swayed and clattered along the road. Huh? Agnes muttered in surprise as they drew up to the palace and the carriage door opened. This was the palace entrance, all right. Agnes was supposed to alight from the carriage here. But why was Claude standing right outside the carriage? Because he wants to escort you there. Duh! Good evening, Lady Agnes. The fourth-born royal prince smiled at her, those dark gray eyes glittering. Good evening, but what are you doing here, Your Highness? Duh. To greet you? To help you out of the carriage and go inside? Duh. Did he have some special business here, or perhaps he was on a stroll and happened to spot... Oh! Yeah, duh. Happened to spot her carriage? I came to greet you, of course. You promised to let me be your escort to the ball. Oh. Oh, right. Yes, that was our arrangement. But somehow Agnes had never expected the fourth-born royal prince to greet her carriage personally. Half sick with nerves and unsure of what to do, Agnes could only watch as a cluster of yellow mushrooms sprouted from Claude's shoulder. Oh god, here we go again. They were long and thin and looked like tiny worms stretching to the sky. Clavulinopsis helvola, they were called. Most ordinary people would probably scream if they found a cluster of yellow, worm-like fungi sprouting from their shoulder. Of course. Yeah, he's, not gonna react that way. I still think he just likes mushrooms, and the fact that you can make mushrooms, and the fact that he loves you anyway, besides that, is just a bonus for him. But the mushroom fetisher himself wasn't ordinary. Instead, his eyes sparkled with fresh delight. Wow, you didn't even have to touch me to sprout them this time. Yeah, that's by her emotions. She doesn't have to touch people for that. Claude turned his handsome smile on Agnes. It was almost as if he was pleased with her, and not just her mushrooms. Yes. Sometimes they sprout sans direct contact. Usually contact produces a stronger mushroom effect, though. Claude casually plucked the yellow, wormy mushrooms off and placed them onto a tray held out by a waiting servant. Really? You had a servant waiting in case she had mushrooms for you. Of course. Yeah, why was there a servant waiting there with a tray? Agnes wondered, but she decided not to dwell on it. There wasn't much room for pondering just at that moment anyway. Why the wordplay? Anyway, the answer probably wouldn't do her much good mentally. That dress looks great on you. Look, these mushrooms are the same color. Claude held his hand out to her as he paid her dress, a compliment. Why was he smiling in such a twinkling manner? Was he pleased over his newly acquired mushrooms? She was so hoping he'd awaken from this madness and let both Agnes and her mushrooms go free, but that seemed to be less likely with every passing second. The princess fetish ran too deep. I don't think it's really a fetish, because... Sorry, I was listening to see if that was wind I was hearing or if that was a car going down the street. I don't think it's a fetish, because if it was a fetish, he would be getting turned on by it, and you would probably be able to tell that. Then again, you guys aren't technically together yet. I wonder how that would change if you guys were to get together. Would that change anything on that? Or is it... I'm just assuming that he really likes mushrooms. And yes, she knew he only wanted her for her mushrooms, but must he be quite so blatant about it, she thought. He is a prince after all, isn't he? At least in public, couldn't he try to cover up his fetish with even a thin veneer of respectability? Paper thin, like the rice starch sheets used to wrap candy. Yeah, that's all I ask. Shall we go then? Agnes took hold of his... I would assume offered. I don't know what proffered is. White-gloved hand. Immediately a small motion popped up on the back of it. It looked like Rickenella fibula. She recognized it by the orangey yellow cap. Claude quickly plucked it off and stuck it in his jacket pocket. He did it with a smooth, practiced air. Yeah, he's getting far too good at that. The prince was clearly the type to do things properly. Your Highness, thank you for the dress. Oh, and the accessories. Agnes had been expecting the custom-tailored dress, of course, but she'd been taken aback when it was delivered with the comb, the earrings, the hair ribbon, embroidered with silver thread, the shoes, and the gloves. Everything was extremely high quality. It was all too much. Claude had really gone overboard. But whether if it was a sign of his mushroom mania, or simply a point of royal pride, Agnes couldn't tell. You're welcome. I knew I was right. Bright colors really do suit you best, Agnes. You look beautiful. I have to agree, bright colors do suit her better. Especially with her hair. Whether it matches her hair or not, bright colors do work. Claude, twinkled. Just then, 3 more of those same mushrooms sprouted up the length of his arm. Must he twinkle so indiscriminately, Agnes thought. He might be a freak and his romantic intentions up for debate, but he was still a very handsome young man. Anyone would tense up being smiled at by someone like him. Thank you. I heard that you paid for this dress out of your own pocket instead of the royal coffers. Yep. Okay, so he did. Please don't. It's too much to fuss over nobody like me. The last dress you gave me was already going too far. I would have happily worn it again, even. There was no need for you to prepare me a whole new outfit. Wait, the last one was a rush job? It wasn't even properly tailored to you. From what I read, apparently it was perfect for her. So what the heck? How was that not perfect? Anyway, I brought you the outfit because I wanted to see you in it. You don't need to worry about a thing. Even so, Agnes was worried. How could she not be? She was still deliberating over how to answer him when they arrived at the ballroom. Here was the fourth-born prince escorting the jilted woman again. Naturally, every eye in the room turned to them. By Claude's side, Agnes couldn't hear any snide remarks, but she could guess what everyone would be saying if they could. The thought made her stomach knot, and her mushroom early warning sensors began tingling. Most of the harshest looks came from other young women. Agnes knew they saw her as a bothersome fly, one that had gotten a foothold on the tempting honeypot that was Prince Claude. Agnes knew that focusing on the dirty looks too much would only result in a fresh crop of mushrooms, so she tried to turn the to thoughts of a carefree commoner life that surely awaited her once this was all over. Shall we dance? Okay. It looked like he was going to force her either way, so Agnes had no choice but to accept. Claude took Agnes by the hand and led her to the center of the ballroom, where they began dancing to the music provided by the Royal Orchestra. As a mere commoner, Agnes had never even seen dancing until she was adopted. She'd had to suffer through years of lessons to learn how. Now she was a competent dancer, but she had nothing on Claude's practiced ease or his dynamic flair. Well, then again, he's supposed to lead. The chasm between his royal status and her own lowly standing had never been more evident to her than at this moment. He led competently. All she had to do was follow, but mentally this dance was a battle of wills for her. Every now and then as they danced, yellow worm-like mushrooms would sprout from the back of Claude's hands, but without missing a step, he simply plucked them off and stashed them in his jacket. How does nobody notice that? They were probably the same ones from before, but Claude moved so fast that Agnes didn't even have time to make sure. It was unmistakable. Claude's reflexes regarding the mushrooms had really sped up. However, does he manage to perform his royal duties when his mind is this focused on mushrooms all the time? Never mind his royal duties, what does he do out of the palace on night business? Surely he encounters all kinds of mushrooms in the wild. Maybe the other knights know about his fungus fetish. Maybe they even have a nickname for him, the Knight of Shrooms or something. Knight of Shrooms. I'm losing it. A mental image popped into Agnes's mind of Claude wearing a giant... Oh no. No, girl, you're gonna make it happen! A giant mushroom cap on his head. An Amanita muscara's cap, of course. Bright red like the red thread of fate that terribly bound the two of them together. Oh dear, the mushroom toxins have clearly invaded my brain. No, it's just your imagination running wild. It was all too much. The angry eyes on her, the strain it took to hold the mushrooms at bay. Agnes sighed, which drew a glance from Claude. Are you growing tired? Huh? Oh, sorry. How rude sighing like that while dancing with His Highness. Even ruder than imagining him with a giant mushroom cap on his head. I should picture him as the Mushroom King instead. That seems more proper. Girl... No, the Knight of Shrooms does sound very proper too, for this case. She could see Claude in her mind's eye wearing a mushroom-shaped crown. Agnes's eyes widened in alarm as she found herself choking back. Yeah. Claude narrowed his eyes, looking regretful. I'm so sorry, I can see I've been pushing you too far. Shall we take a little break? Oh, great, the freaking mushroom of the day. Entaloma sarcopum. Gray-brown caps with thick stems. It's edible. It's bitter raw, so it needs to be thoroughly boiled or grilled. It also looks a lot like the poisonous Entaloma rhodopolium and the Entaloma sinuatum, so please exercise caution. It showed up to put Kevin in his place, a busybody mushroom. The ones from earlier. It's a yellow, thin-stemmed mushroom that looks like soggy French fries. The Japanese name has the character for noodles in it, so you'd think it'd be edible, but it's not considered a worthy foodstuff. Apparently, you need a lot of courage to eat it. It's a proud mushroom, a symbol of bravery. It has its empathetic side and lends a sympathetic ear to the Those mushrooms are light orange and yellow caps, about 1 centimeter, a little mushroom. It doesn't seem to be poisonous, but no one's really sure. It's too small to be worth eating. A sad, untasted mushroom. Like the other ones, it's just waiting for someone brave enough to come and try eating it. Don't be that person. Amanita muscaria. Red caps, white spots. The go-to poison mushroom for cartoons. Claude's soulmate. Oh my god, girl, quit thinking that. God dang it. Chapter 7. Too hasty, perhaps? They left the ballroom and quickly headed for a room with an ornate red door. The room was a little larger than the one from last time. They sat across from each other on the rose-patterned sofas. Your Highness, you invited me here for the mushrooms, didn't you? Agnes asked. In that case, there's no need for me to attend balls and the like. I can just have mushrooms delivered to you. Or did you have some other reason for needing my presence? Maurice said it had nothing to do with the whole Philip situation, so I wondered if perhaps you need me to keep away other women? No. From his seat on the opposite sofa, Claude pulled the mushroom from his pocket and arranged them on the table. There they were, the Rickenella fibula, and the clavulinopsis that sprouted while they danced. Despite being quickly shoved into his pockets, the mushrooms still look fine. This mushroom pervert really is good at handling them, Agnes thought. I told you, this is all because I want to see you. Yeah, if he just wanted the mushrooms, he could have just had you deliver them. But it's not just the mushrooms that he likes, it's you. The mushrooms are just a bonus. Agnes slumped. Claude really sounded too casual about this whole thing. I think you should be more careful about how you word things to avoid misunderstandings. What misunderstandings? I don't mind if you misunderstand me. What is this mushroom fetishist even saying? You talk to all the girls like this? Not at all. In fact, I do my best to avoid them. True, he has 0 romantic scandals to his name, but this whole thing kept making less and less sense to her. Claude gazed at a now visibly confused Agnes. Then he smiled, eyes twinkling again. You've let your hair down again today. What? Oh, yes, you don't like it after all? She was free of Philip's tyranny, but there was no changing the fact that her natural peach blossom-colored hair was as unpopular as maybe from Philip, but that doesn't mean everybody. Yes, there's going to be some people that don't like your hair color. That's going to happen, but there are going to be people who like it. I mean, your brother likes it, your dad/uncle likes it, he likes it. Since Claude had made no complaint last time, she wore it down again today, but perhaps he's sick of the sight of it now? Not at all. I've never seen a girl with such beautiful hair and eyes. Thank you for trying to make me feel better. I've always tried to hide my hair and downplay it as much as possible. And I tried to keep my makeup and dresses bland so I don't stand out as much. Why would you do that? Philip wanted me to. Philip was a dim-witted adulterer, but he had a point when it came to appearances. Even when she'd attended evening events with him, she was able to avoid having people approach her by dressing down as much as possible. Meanwhile, Claude was frowning and looking unimpressed by her confession. Well, don't hide that beautiful hair of yours anymore. I'll have another dress made for you, too. I don't want you to wear it and dance with me at the next ball. For my mushrooms, right? I can't say you're wrong there. Fetishists are always so accepting of their own feelings. He probably wants his mushrooms as fresh as possible. He has weird interests, sure, but it's me who will shoulder the risk that comes with him indulging them. I don't need a dress. Once you're satisfied, I plan to be a commoner again, so it'll only add to my burdens if you keep giving me extravagant dresses. You're still considering commoner life? And what do you mean, once I'm satisfied? I figured if you're not just using me to prop up the royal image or keep bothersome women away from you, then you must be using me as a walking mushroom farm. Keeping me around as an amusement. No, he's not. I mean, but the way he was acting around the mushrooms, I can understand her thinking that. But I'm just thinking that maybe he just likes mushrooms. A lot. He's like a mushroom enthusiast. You know, like people who would like specialize in certain items in science and stuff. He's kind of like that, but with mushrooms. Claude's mouth dropped open and he froze. Why do you think that? Well, you said all that stuff about falling for the mushrooms. What other reason could you have for keeping me around? But I want to see you. I find you interesting. More than any of those girls, anyway. Doesn't that mean I have feelings for you? I mean, why would he waste his time with you if he didn't? It's just mushroom mania. It's the mushrooms you're into, not me as a person. Okay, so he has no scandals to his name, but he's still a handsome prince. He says grandiose things and has a huge amount of power and influence. Claude sighed while Agnes was still thinking about his impressive status. Just then a small mushroom popped up on the back of his glove. Psilocybs subcarolites, judging by the little brown cap. Claude plucked it off and added it to the table with the rest of his collection. I see. So that's how it is. That's what I am to you. Your Highness? Claude lifted his dark gray eyes from the mushrooms on the table and fixed them on Agnes. Alright then. Why are you saying this? Are you trying to prove to her that it's not the mushrooms you're after, but her? That's the only thing I can think of as to why he's doing this sudden change here. Alright then. I want to use you to keep other women away. As you know, I'm the fourth-born prince, second in line for the throne, and single. And indeed, I wish to keep away all the hypergamous females who see me as a tempting catch. Oh, God. I think he's also doing this to try and get her to, date him, quote unquote, and then get her to fall for him that way. So she won't want to stop. If you could pretend to be involved with me, it'd help a great deal, so would you mind doing me that favor? But you just said it wasn't about keeping other women away. I just changed my mind. Now it is. What? He's going back on his own words now. Yeah, I think he's doing this for a reason. Here she'd been thinking he was a decent though perverted sort, but it turned out that he was cut from the same cloth as Philip after all. Agnes was shocked, but she had no time to dwell on it. Alright, what do you want me to do, and for how long? My brother, the Crown Prince, is getting married in 6 months. I want your help until then. 6 months? Was it a long time or not? She couldn't tell. Yes, that should be enough time to finish up the business at hand. What business? He's not planning to clone me with magic, is he? So he can have a lifetime supply of mushrooms? There's no telling what this pervert might be thinking. Don't worry about it. Claude grinned at her, but Agnes wasn't reassured. As for your duties, be seen with me as much as possible. Be my partner for evening parties and events, and I also want you to meet with me privately too. But surely you could find someone better than me. Who? His abrupt question gave her pause. What? Who? I don't know. Some other well-bred young lady, someone prettier, more refined? I'm tired of girls like that. I prefer you. I like your hair, your eyes, and your mushrooms. You're perfect for me. That's what I think. Yeah, he didn't just say for your mushrooms only. He likes you for you. And the mushrooms are just a bonus. Oh, you do you? Mushroom freak. Anyway, there's no reason why I should accept your request. If I tell everyone I fell for you at first sight that night, you got publicly dumped. It'll completely override your scandal with Philip. Your bad reputation will vanish instantly, and your little brother and family will have their image restored too. No, it'll just make me seem like a fickle woman who hops from one royal husband candidate to another. If we were just dating for fun, then yes. But I'll tell everyone I'm head over heels for you, that you're my soulmate. I'll really lay it on thick. Okay. I'll really lay it on thick. I'll say I proposed to you right away, but you turned me down. That way, it'll look like I'm the one who's pursuing you, while you'll be the innocent, desired party. So you want me to make this like some kind of contract? Something like that. I'll pretend to be crazy about, well, he kind of is already. And that will keep the annoying girls off my back. At the same time, you can fix your scorned woman reputation and safeguard your younger brother's future. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Yes, but at the end of our time together, it's going to look like I've been rejected by 2 royals. What's the point of dragging myself out of the mud only to leap back in at the end of it all? Listen, the story is going to be that I'm crazy for you. Head over heels. You're the one who's going to dump me in the end, not the other way around. Your reputation won't be affected at all, nor will the Lefort family be negatively impacted in any way. I give you my word. You're going to destroy your own reputation if you do that. He's a mushroom freak, yes. But he's still the 4th prince. What did he stand to gain pretending to have lost his head over a woman who was damaged goods, only to end up dumped by her in the end? You're concerned about my well-being, are you? In that case, agree to the plan. I assure you I am very serious about this. Claude's eyes certainly did seem serious as they gazed at Agnes. He was a fetishistic freak, yes, but he was quite a nice prince, and he had stepped in to help when she and Philip had their public screaming match. He didn't seem like the type to lie to try and trick her. You're having that tough of a time with the ladies? Then I suppose this is worth it to you if you can keep them away and get mushrooms in the process. Claude blinked for a second, then he smiled dryly. Yes, the mushrooms are tempting, all right? How about if I purchase them from you? You want to buy my mushrooms? That wasn't such a bad deal for Agnes, all things considered. Asking a mushroom fetishist to give up the Give up the mushrooms was an exercise in futility. And if Agnes explained things to her family properly, it might be okay. They wouldn't get the wrong idea about her and Claude. Yes, maybe she could get through this unscathed. And if she could spin her weird mushroom sprouting effect into actual big money, well, that'd be just fine. Alright then. Thank you, Lady Agnes. Agnes. Yeah, you gotta go stop with the lady thing. Claude gave her a brilliant smile that made her heart skip a beat. Dang it! Oh, God. Say my name too. What? I can't. Fetishistic freak though he may be, he was still a prince. A mere count's daughter like her couldn't possibly address him using only his given name. We have to get friendly with each other or no one's ever gonna buy our ruse. Now are they? It's okay, I give you permission. So he wants her to essentially call him Claude. Oh boy. When he put it like that, she almost believed him. This is why good-looking men are deadly. Oh boy. Alright, Prince Claude then. Try again. Drop the prince. Okay, Claude. Embarrassed, Agnes snuck a look at the prince. He was beaming at her. He wielded his princely smile like a weapon. I never should have looked. She sighed in pique, embarrassment, and discomfort. Claude got up from the sofa and came over to her. He kneeled before her and took her hand. Let's be good together, okay, Agnes? Aww! I like that picture! But I'm going to have to end this part off here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time.